Alright, let's take a look at this. At this point, you're getting pretty close to what your carb is. We're not at the rough stage anymore, and although we're not quite at the details stage yet. We've gotten rid of a lot of our high parts. It's pretty regular now, and now is about the time where you'll start using the light. I've got a big shop light above my head, and what I'll do, let me turn this camera a bit. And what I'll do is I'll hold it up to the light and look at it, and you can see where the irregularity is in your carb. Like, I can see that it's high here. And the silhouette will really help you out. And that's essentially what we're going to do for the rest of the carb. Is we're going to use light as our friend to check out where we've made some mistakes, where we've got to fix, and go from there. Alright, and we're going to continue to do that until we really get the carb to where we want it to be. But as you can see, we've got a nice gentle carb. And believe it or not, this is actually, it's hard to see on the camera. It's a big carb. It's heavier than most commercial guitars that you'll find, at least. I'm going to go ahead and, now that you've seen the techniques, I'm going to go ahead and finish this up, and we'll come back in a little while and see the finished carb and get moving on the guitar. One other tool that I found to be quite useful in carving guitar tops is just a simple random orbital sander. Got a rigid one here. When you throw on lower grits, like in this case I've got a 60 on here. Yeah, 60. Or an 80. I mean, when you're getting that low, you might as well consider this to be a carving tool. And I mean, it'll help you flatten things out. It'll get rid of all these little nicks that your planes have put in it. And it'll really, what it really does is smooth out the surface and it'll allow you to see what you have better in light. And another thing to note is when you're sanding, people tell you usually to keep your sander flat so you're not putting dips in. I mean, literally, this is a carving tool today. Don't be afraid to put it on edge and push down. It really is amazing what a quick pass with the random orbital can do to put your build in perspective. It really cleans things up. Makes it look like a final carb almost, but I went through and got rid of all the tooling marks. That's a great start. But it's also going to tell me now. Well, it's going to be able to. I'm going to be able to feel more where my spots of irregularity are. Because now everything's smooth. Most of the tooling marks are gone. So I have a high spot here. A little high along this ridge here, a little bit high there, regular there, but this one can probably get taken out with the random orbital with a little more work. I'm definitely high up in here, that whole area. I'll put a star in that one. Some irregularity here, and this could probably be feathered more down towards the edge. And I'll either go back with a plane or back to the random orbital depending on what it needs. And here we have it, the finished carve. Obviously it still needs a little bit of sanding. I need to fill these. These are actually worm tracks, but the lumber is perfectly fine. I will be veneering the top, so those will not show. It's got a nice bell curve to it. I'm looking down it and I can see a nice bell shape that it has. You're trying to get that in the camera so you can see it a little bit. And it also curves delicately and bell-like from front to back. There are still a couple irregularities if you run your fingers across like that. However, we are going to deal with those with hand sanding. Our last and final step on the carve is going to be to get 120 grit sandpaper on a small block. It's got to be a small block, about 3/4 of an inch by 3/4 of an inch by 2, and it's going to be sitting long ways like this. And then we're going to be sanding down at an angle at all, sorry, not an angle, but radially all around, and that's going to perfect any irregularities in the carve. And let me go find that block and we'll get to that. I also wanted to show you the single cut shape that I'm doing, just in case you're doing a single cut. One thing that's important is in this upper bout area, you always want the carve going away downhill from where your neck is. It's going to look extremely strange if you arch up and then start swooping back down by the time you hit the neck. So it'll be a point where the neck meets the top instead of a crest, and that's just an important thing to keep in mind. This is about at the same stage as the double cut top. It needs to have the hand sanding done, and you can see how this maple top here has got a nice curve to it, a nice little arch. You can see how the light's hitting that to give you an idea. This is the block that I'll be using. It's just long enough that there's 4 of them per width of a sheet of sandpaper. So what I do is I'll just make quarter sheets, and then I'll get four pieces of sandpaper that fit this block perfectly out of each quarter sheet. No point in wasting a good sandpaper. What I've done is I've personally hand planed each of these surfaces so I know that they're perfectly flat. And then I've rounded the edges on 2 of these edges and 2 of the ends. So I've got sharp edges on one side and rounded edges all on the other side. I'll mostly use this rounded edge one. This one, it doesn't really matter. I can use that for concave surfaces, convex surfaces and whatnot, like the crest. But literally all I'm going to do is go through this and start flattening out this carve. I mean, not flattening out, but getting rid of any irregularities by hand. And as you can see, I'm going lengthwise in the tighter areas, and as I get out in the wider areas, I can do a little bit of this. I prefer lengthwise for most places, so get a better result. One problem that I kept having with this guitar was that in these 2 areas here, I kept having ridges. And it's not something that I've encountered during a carve before. And no matter what I did, random orbital, plane, I just couldn't get rid of them. Anytime I sanded, it actually made them worse. And the decision I've come to is that this swamp ash has some disparity in hardness and density of the wood in different places. So that reminded me of the last tool that I should probably talk about when carving, the good scraper. Make sure it's sharp, well burnished, but that can get out a lot of the ridges that you don't want in your carve. And I mean, you can use it like this, or if there's ridges like that, you can go down. And it just it's the only thing that really helped me with this swamp ash and that weird characteristic of it. But carve is now done.